tomorrow. Good. Now listen to this story. It's a very important story. The religious Jews, known as the Hasids, are very mystical. The ones who understand the mysticism of the Kabbalah understand this story better than any. So there's a rabbi, an ordinary guy, not a particularly sagacious scholar. He was a rabbi. And he gets a call from the head guy in Brussels. The head rabbi sends a message, you have to come to visit me immediately. He doesn't say why. They don't work that way. So the rabbi in New York makes his plans. He has to go to Brussels. He gets on a plane. The plane stops in London. And the plane to Brussels is delayed. And he has to spend time sitting around the airport. He's sitting around the airport, and a stranger is next to him. And they start to talk, and the stranger opens his heart to the rabbi because he figures he's a religious guy, and he says this, he says that. Finally tells the rabbi he was considering committing suicide that day. And the rabbi asks him, well, why? And he tells him why. And finally the rabbi explains to him that this is one of the greatest sins you could ever commit, and the devastation it will cause to those around him. And by the time they're through talking, the man says, you know, you've opened my eyes. I'm not going to hurt myself. Thank you very much. The rabbi gets on the plane in London. He flies to Brussels. He goes to see the head rabbi in Brussels who had called him, and the rabbi in Brussels says, so tell me what happened to you on the way here to see me in Brussels. He says, well, not much. He said, I had a layover in London, and we were delayed, and I met a guy who said he wanted to commit suicide. And the rabbi says, and? He says, well, after I got through telling him what God's view is, he said he wasn't going to do it. So the rabbi in Brussels says, good, now you can go home. That was the reason. So, I mean, this is a kind of a mystical story, but it's also a practical story. And it's a story that I want to give you here on the radio because maybe it will help someone understand that there are forces at work in the universe that are not apparent to us. And let me just leave it at that. I'm not going to describe any more because I don't have the capacity to describe it anymore. Anyone who's been alive long enough understands there's more to life than A and B. There's more than the 2 or 3 dimensions that we operate in, and there may be spiritual elements that we don't even understand. And the further we disconnect ourselves from these spiritual elements, or however you want to describe them, the more isolated we are, the more alienated we are, the higher the likelihood is that we will hurt ourselves, one way or another, or in all